Hey, Big A, it's me, Crimps. Says it right here to the left. I just liquidated most of my positions and now I'm worried what to do with my money. I was worried if you could walk through a quick and easy way to commit tax fraud so I don't have to pay capital gains. That would be so poggers of you. A quick and easy way to commit tax fraud so you don't have to pay capital gains. This is after you've already sold. You know what you can do? So there's this investor. Her name is Cathy Wood. Cathy Wood does the ARK Innovation Fund. And she is probably one of the worst investors. She's only famous because she went all in super brain dead ape on tech stocks in 2021 and they all went to the moon and they were calling her some kind of genius. Holy shit. She's just so smart. And then ever since then, she's just made so many incredible self-owns. But recently, one thing she said was, like, this is within the past day or two. This is funny. This is on her Wikipedia. She's one of the third highest wealth destroyers. She lost $7.1 billion of shareholder value in 10 years. She, for example, like managed to, in the past few years, buy millions of dollars of Nvidia and lose money. She like bought at the exact wrong time and sold at the exact low. I think she bought it like the 21 peak and sold right after it did. I mean, nearly impossible to do. She lost money on Nvidia. She lost money on a lot of things. I'm sorry, I can't find her exact quote. Oh, here it is. Wait, this is it. She was defending all her losses by saying, as a result, our trading-related capital tax losses should offset trading-related capital tax gains for years. An underappreciated asset. Now, to break that down, what she's saying is, if you lose money trading stocks, you can deduct it from money you made to cancel out your taxes paying. And she's saying, we've lost so much fucking money that we're never paying taxes again. Because no matter how much we make, it'll never make up for the amount we've already lost. That's what she's with this sentence. I mean, this got roasted. This got roasted by, every shades roasted. But that's your plan. So if you just made a bunch of money on capital gains, all I need you to do is have a bunch of capital losses to offset it. And then you're good to go. Hey, Big A, I got an Enron hat from my dad who works in NYC finance. And he said he can't wear it to work or he'll get jumped. Jumped by who? Who's still standard bearing for Enron in 2024? They went out of business in 2001. 23 years, bro. They got shooters? I don't think they do. That's the thing, is I disagree that Enron has shooters. Are you for or against Enron? Is that a serious question? You wrote that so seriously. Is it a serious question? What am I doing? What is anything sticking ever? Is there is there any single fact getting through at all? Didn't you have a guy get mad at you in the elevator? The guy that got mad at me was a TaskRabbit mover I hired to help me get stuff out of my apartment. And he was an older guy and he was helping me move and I had my Enron hat on as I was moving my bed frame and shit. And he was like, Enron? Those guys are crooks. I was like, bro, I'm way too young to have worked at Enron. Maybe I don't look it. There's no way. I was 9 years old when they were committing fraud. It's not like they went unpunished. Yeah, it's interesting because Enron is one of like the last examples of corporate fraud even being punished at the executive level, like with a CEO doing jail time. That's rare now. FTX is a great example. No, FTX too. FTX is great, actually. But then it depends on what they give the other members of the FTX conspiracy, because they got a lot of executives at Enron. Although there is the one guy, little Enron story that I love to tell. One of the guys at Enron, Lupai, I believe that's who it is. He was married but loved strippers. And so at one point, his wife catches him going to all these strippers all the time, and he has to get divorced. And as part of the divorce, he has to split all of his assets. And so in order to split them, he sells all 300 million of his Enron stock at the peak. And so he also quits the company. He quits the company, deals with his divorce, sells all his stock, gets out clean. The stock collapses not long after. Everyone involved with the company at the high level starts getting tried for fraud and arrested or whatever. He gets out clean, is now the largest landowner in Colorado. All because he loved strippers. He's now like incredibly wealthy, off the grid, insane twist of fate. Moral of the story, not a good one. God rewards his bravest soldier. I don't know what makes him brave. Talking to girls takes courage even when you pay them. That's the lesson. He was courageous because he talked to a woman that he was paying. Interesting. What stops companies from get broken up from continuing to work together afterwards? Well, economic interests. Let's say we split up YouTube and Google, right? The new CEO of YouTube, day one, is like, what is a way I could grow this company? Maybe it's getting into search. And then the new CEO of Google's like, what's the way I grow this company? Maybe I can get into video. And so they're already competing. They already have competitive interests. And because they compete and there's multiple options, it drives the price down for customers. Or in cases where it's not a price-based thing, for suppliers or for employees or for... You know what's funny is it would actually, it does, obviously, it does hurt the investors in established businesses. There would be investors in new businesses that make money. All the system does is freeze the current structure, the current people at the top, without allowing anyone who is currently successful to fail. But Google is free and they're huge. Google is free for you, the consumer, but you're not the customer. The customer is the advertiser. Google and Facebook have a duopoly over internet advertising, and they collude to charge absurd prices. So any small business that wants to promote their stuff on the internet has to go through those two companies, and they spend a lot of money and they have nowhere else to go. So they cannot, it's like a tax. There's like the Google Facebook tax. And so if they were broken up and there was more options, those would be cheaper. That's where the price is. Why can't McDonald's make me the product? I want to be burger. We'll get there. How does breaking up a company like Google work? Does each service become its own thing? The thing about, I think the way Google would be broken up is YouTube. YouTube is big enough to be a standalone business and could split out fairly easily. That's how they would break it up. But owning search and online video is giving them an unholy amount of power. There's no great answer to your question because it's never happened in the era of modern big tech, where these few tech companies just buy their way into absolutely every industry. They just own so much that in so many disparate things. Basically, big tech is a company that has a monopoly in one area of the online space, like whether it's Amazon in cloud, or Meta in social media, or Google in search. They just generate infinite cash from that, and they use that to buy their way into everything. If you look at the stock market, it's like those 7 tech companies are, again, the only ones growing earnings. Everything else is shrinking. Can that be good for America, as they are American companies? It's not good for anyone but them, but I guess it's less bad for America because at least there's more revenue and jobs there, but it's not good for anyone. It's only good for the owners of those companies. And tech employees. But not everybody's going to be employed by Amazon, Facebook, Google. Can you explain why it isn't? It doesn't really understand. How do you benefit? How do you benefit from like Amazon making more money? Just because it's in your country? What is that? If you're not employed there, how does that just, think about it from that. What is your personal benefit? I'm assuming taxes go to us. Yeah, but understand that so if Amazon was smaller, for example, and other companies were in its place, the total revenue would be there. It would just be split into different companies. And Amazon's actually really efficient and good about not paying taxes. Them having all the money doesn't mean we're going to get more taxes. Yeah, that's just, there's not a lot. Can you give a book recommendation for geopolitics? I read Haves and Have-Nots. You liked it? That's awesome. That's rare someone would like that book. You want something a little doomery? You want something happy or you want something doomery? Because I probably have both. For geopolitics, I think a very interesting book that I'm actually starting to reread, because I read it a while ago, but it's more relevant than I thought, is Neil Howe's The Fourth Turning. And it's all about how there's these cycles in humanity that we continually learn the lesson, then unlearn the lesson as the people who lived through it die. The Fourth Turning is basically saying there's these 4 quadrants, each 4 turnings. And being in the 4th one is the worst one to be in, and that's what we're in right now. And the last 4th turning was basically like 1920s, 30s, and all of the lessons that would have been taken from that, like around, things that led to the Great Depression, things that led to the rise of fascism, all that stuff, have been lost. Everyone's died out, basically, almost everybody. There's not a lot learned from that, and now we're entering into the same kind of cycles. But they're all different. Like each 4th turning is different, but it's an interesting book. Yeah, I read it a while ago. I don't remember when it was, but I didn't really think much of it. And then I heard it on a podcast recently, and I started re-listening, and it's pretty interesting about cycles of history. Hard time to make sure. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It is kind of like that. But it's not even that doomer. It's doomer for the next few years, I guess. But it's also kind of hopeful. It's almost like we learn these lessons again, then we get through it, and then we grow from it. We get an FDR too soon. Yeah, that's basically what it says, by the way. It's not like that leadership doesn't exist. It's just going to rise to meet the moment as we get through. Which 4th turning book is it? It's the Neil Howe one. I have the red cover. It's right here. Oh, and I brought it too. That one. And then like a more directly hopeful, fun, interesting. The book I liked was called Safe Passage. That was the one I was looking at recently. Safe Passage, which is a book, again, it's kind of off the Graham Allison type beat where every time there's a leading power and then a rising power, what happens? And this is about how the UK and the US avoided war when that happened. Although the UK and US did have war, but not when the US became the leading economic power. FDR2 is Mr. Beast. I'm not going to rule it out. You never know, dude. You never know what the 2030s will be like. Maybe we'll get FDR2 and it's Mr. Beast. Things are different every time. The cycles repeat.